So this unit test that we've written would be much more robust if it not only checked the HTTP response, but it also checked the database to ensure that the state has been modified as we'd expect it to have been. Now, one issue with using the database in tests is that obviously data persists, and this is going to make it unpredictable. So for this reason, what we should do is make sure that the database is cleared before our tests run to ensure that any pre-existing data doesn't interfere with our tests. So to do this, we're going to add a Mocha lifecycle hook. So we'll put this at the top of our file, and this one's called before each. And as the name suggests, it runs the provided function from the hook before each test case. So that means we can use this to clear the database before every test runs. Now you recall from the last module of the course that our Mongoose model has a save method. Well, Mongoose methods actually have many different methods that allow you to perform different CRUD operations on the model data quite easily. So what we want to do is let's actually require our item model. So we're going to go const item equals require, and we're going to have to go up 3 directories into our server directory, into our models, and then we can grab our item. All right, now what we can do inside this hook here is we can call item, and there's a delete many method. Now you can pass an object to that where you can specify the criteria for which items you want to delete. If you don't pass any criteria to it, it's just going to delete every single item in the database. So that's basically what we want. Now this Mongoose method, like most Mongoose methods, is asynchronous. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to make this hook function async, and that means we can simply just return item.deleteMany like that, and that's going to do what we want. Now that we've got a predictable database state, we can make some assertions about it. So you'll recall that our post_items endpoint is going to write a new item to the database. So what we can do is retrieve our database items and make sure that that one is there. That would confirm that it worked. So to do this, we're going to use item.find. And much like the delete many method from before, this method is going to find anything that conforms to the criteria that you pass this method. And if you don't provide any criteria, it'll simply just find every item. All right, so this is going to return an array, and it's an asynchronous method, so we're going to await it, and we're going to assign it to a variable items like that. Now, since the database gets cleared before every test, and post items should add 1 item, what we can do is we can expect items.length to be 1. So that's pretty good because it tells us that an item was written, but it'd also be good to check that the actual data in that item had integrity as well. So we can do another assertion sort of similar to the one that we did above here, only instead of the HTTP status, we're going to check that the database items, so we'll take the first item, and we're going to check that the title is the same as body.title, which is from the original object that we created. All right, so with that done, let's go ahead and run our test suite again, and hopefully everything passes. Which it does, so that's good. Now before we finish this video, let's make it so that we actually have 2 databases, one for development and one for testing. Now, the reason that we want to do this is that anytime we run our tests, it's obviously going to clear everything out of the database. And that's going to be annoying if we're trying to develop at the same time, because any test data that we're using for smoke tests is going to be deleted. So luckily this is fairly trivial to implement. So you'll see here in our Mongoose connect method where we're passing the address of the database as a string. So let's go ahead and change that to template literal, And where we've got the database name there, PrintBay, we're actually going to replace that with a variable, and we'll make that DB name. So then what we'll do is we'll create this variable DB name, and we're going to use a ternary operator, and we're going to see what the node environment is set to, and if it's set to test, then we'll call our database PrintBay, let me just move this here, PrintBay test like that. And sorry if this is a little hard to see, but if it's not test, then we'll just use PrintBay as we did before like that. All right, so let's just go ahead and run our test suite to ensure everything's still working. So our test runs, so that was good. And I've also opened up Compass here, and you can see now that we have our PrintBay database here, and we've got this new one, PrintBay test. So that confirms that we've got our two databases working.